Hey, everybody. So, we have a quarterback battle on the flats for the first time in I don't even know how long. The quarterback situation was what it was under Paul Johnson. And then, of course, we had Jeff Collins take over. And for Jeff Collins' entire 4 years, there wasn't really a quarterback competition ever. He brought Jeff Sims in his second year as head coach, and Jeff Sims was never challenged for the job. It was always understood that he was going to be the starting quarterback. We never had any controversy in the offseason. We never had any quarterbacks on the roster that could possibly push him for the job. It was always just understood that Jeff Sims was going to be the starter. Well, that is no more. On Brent Key's first year as full-time head coach, he's got a quarterback battle going into the year, and I have a feeling that this quarterback battle isn't going to be answered in the spring. I think that they're going to keep us guessing up until the season starts. So, first of all, we have three quarterbacks on scholarship, which are Zach Pyron, Haynes King, and Zach Gibson. Now, Zach Gibson, I don't actually consider as a threat to push for the starting job. He had a couple opportunities this past year to kind of show what he was made of, and it seems like he's got just not quite what it takes to be a starting Power 5 quarterback. He doesn't have very good mobility. He is a decent passer, but if our offensive line can't block for him, he pretty much has no pocket awareness and gets sacked. And it doesn't really work. And, of course, our offensive line is not the best. Clearly, Brent Key has been working on that, but, we're going to – until we have a offensive line that can block and create a pocket, we are not going to be able to have a quarterback that doesn't have at least some mobility. So Zach Gibson, for that reason, I think would not be in the running, and that leaves Zach Pyron and Haynes King. Of course, everybody knows Haynes King transferred in from Texas A&M, so I wanted to talk about the battle that he's going to be having with Zach Pyron, who will this year be a true sophomore. Now, Zach Pyron, to start, came in as a true freshman this past season, the 2022 season, and he was a true freshman out of Pinson Valley in Alabama. He was one state and everything as high school. He was a 3-star recruit and pretty much came in with no expectation to play at all this past year. And like I said, Jeff Sims was pretty much expected to just be the starter throughout the entire year. And Zach Pyron came in as a freshman, and he was, third string? We had 4 quarterbacks this past year. And when Jeff Sims went down, it was Zach Gibson that actually got the start. I know it's confusing, the two freaking Zachs together. Well, it's the Zach Gibson and Zach Pyron, so I know it's hard to keep track of. But Zach Pyron is, clearly much better and also has fiery red hair. He's a ginger, so that is a good way to distinguish the two. But Zach Gibson takes over after Jeff Sims goes down. In the Virginia game, Zach Gibson comes in and just pretty much puts on one of the worst performances I've ever seen. 7 straight 3-and-outs to Virginia, of all people. And Virginia is one of the worst freaking teams in our division this past year, and we wind up losing to them that game because of that. So it was pretty bad. He gave up a ton of sacks, and it was clear going into the Florida State game we were going to need something else. Zach Pyron comes in, leads a gutsy last-minute kind of drive at the end there. Well, of course, we got blown out that game, but he comes in the game, doesn't quit, and he gets a scoring drive at the end of the game there to kind of show what he's made of. It was a stark contrast the week before where Zach Gibson actually ran out of bounds on 4th down to just kind of take the loss, even though it was a close game. He freaking ran out of bounds because he didn't think that he could, throw it far enough. And I'm not trying to dunk on Zach Gibson or anything. It's just it was a stark contrast because Pyron came in and was clearly it was just a big difference because, he would lead the team on this amazing freaking drive at the end of the game to come back and score what wound up being meaningless versus running out of bounds on fourth down when the game was still tied up or whatever it was, when it was still a close game and there was still a chance. Anyway, people fell in love quickly with Pyron. He got his first start at the Virginia Tech game after kind of impressing at the Florida State game. He was showing some chemistry with their guys and was actually able to move the ball, which was freaking amazing. It was something that Zach Gibson just could not do. So Pyron got the start for the rest of the time, and he played good. He wound up actually in the face of, this is one of his strengths, in the face of adversity, going on the road, his first start, and it's on the road in Blacksburg. I know Virginia Tech was terrible this year, but we had our fair share of issues too. And for him to go on the road and actually be able to face some adversity there, get the win, and everything didn't go smoothly according to plan. He threw like a key interception, and all he did the next drive was come back and keep a level head and not get shook up, and he came back and led us to the victory. So he's a very promising quarterback. Now, where we get into the concerning part is the Miami game. Now, he did go down in the Miami game. He went down to a broken clavicle because one thing about Zach Pyron is he's not afraid to freaking put his head down and barrel forward for the first down if he thinks he needs to. And that's exactly what he did, wound up broken his clavicle. Now, however, he actually was not having the best game particularly. He threw a couple interceptions. We would get all the way, drive all the way down the field. He threw an interception in the end zone. He did that twice. So that is pretty concerning. I think that Zach Pyron still has some development. However, you give him the benefit of the doubt because he was a true freshman. He was thrust into the starting job. He had no preparation, prior to that to being the starter. Although that is, some areas that I could see Pyron needing improvement. So Zach Gibson, of course, came in and he was the starter for the rest of the year along with Tyson Pumachan. And we actually managed to get another win at North Carolina. But that was the end of the year. Tyson Pumachan transferred out. Zach Gibson's sticking around. He's hoping to push for the starting job. Again, I don't think that's going to happen. Gibson, he did a great job in the North Carolina game and everything, but his shortcomings are too much to overcome. I think Pyron and Haynes King are just a little too talented, you know what I mean? So I think they're going to surpass him in that case. And then we have Haynes King transferring from Texas A&M. And Haynes King, to me, I think gets a bad rap. Okay, he's been at Texas A&M for a few years. He redshirted. Then he actually won the starting job in 21. And he only played in 2 games before he got hurt and was out for the rest of the entire year. Okay, so, and he didn't look great, granted. But he comes back for the second year, 2022, and he wins the starting job yet again. But they have a heated freaking quarterback battle in that room. They had Max Johnson and this hotshot young kid, Connor Wegman, in the quarterback room too. So any kind of mess up or any kind of, shortcomings from Haynes King were going to be put under a microscope because they have this amazing freaking 5-star kid in the waiting, chomping at the bit to take his job. So he does wind up losing his job. A lot of criticisms on Haynes King, saying he's poor decision making. He was throwing interceptions. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Sounds like Jeff Sims. Now, the thing for me is Haynes King, a lot of people sold on him. A lot of people are talking trash on Georgia Tech for taking Haynes King in. Look, Texas A&M was chock full of 4 and 5-star talent that was not. I mean, look, they went 5-7 this year. There's no possible world in which that team full of all of that talent should have gone 5-7. Okay, that team is chock full of that talent, and it wasn't being. They weren't bringing the full potential of their players out. They weren't being coached the right way, clearly, and they had poor chemistry and everything. and that resulted in a terrible 5-7 freaking season. So I don't understand, the other teams in the country, the hundreds of freaking teams that are taken from Texas A&M, because of course after they go 5-7, all their damn best players transfer out. Nobody's talking trash on them for taking those players in. So I'm not sure why Georgia Tech is any different. I guess because quarterback, there's a bigger, focus, spotlight on that position, and Haynes King really hasn't showed us what he's capable of. Well, I think Haynes King's best days are ahead of him. He honestly, he's only played a few games as a starter. I just think he gets a bad rap for no good reason. Clearly these players that are transferring out of Texas A&M were not being brought to their potential by the coaching staff there. Now, if there is one player, one coach that I trust to bring that potential out of these players, it's Chris Winkie. Okay? We had Winkie this past year. Of course, Jeff Sims comes in, right? We have him for the past 2 years, and Jeff Sims looked like crap, really. He looked like crap in 2020 and 2021. And terrible under Pat Nunn. Chris Winkie comes in, and we freaking get him coached up in this past offseason, and Jeff Sims was playing a lot better just from hiring Chris Winkie. Chris Winkie, Heisman winning quarterback, great coach, did a great job coaching him up, and I really liked what I was seeing out of Jeff Sims. So a lot of these problems that I'm hearing from Haynes King sounded familiar to Jeff Sims too. So if Chris Winkie can fix up Jeff Sims, I see no reason why he can't coach up Pyron and Haynes King in the same way. And I think that whatever these two quarterbacks get chosen for the starting job, I think we're going to be in good hands, okay? And what's good about this, last season, 2022, we came into the season knowing if Jeff Sims not the starter, that's it. We don't have a quarterback. And that's what happened. We didn't have a quarterback last year because Jeff Sims went down, and our season completely went off the rails. Now, luckily, we had Pyron in the back, and he was, and he turned out to be a competent quarterback. But Brent Key has this situation turned around to where now we have two competent starting quarterbacks, and whichever one wins the job, even if one of them gets hurt, hey, we're still in good hands. Now, who do I think is going to win the job? Well, me personally, I think Haynes King is going to win the job. Now, I think this for a couple reasons. First of all, he's won the starting quarterback job in 2 different seasons. Okay, he is, of course, I think a little bit. He's a little higher ceiling, a little bit more talented than Pyron. Love freaking Pyron. Love his guts. I love what he's got. But Haynes King coming out of high school, he was higher rated. He was highly sought after, and he just hasn't had his potential max. And I think that he's probably, showing that off as we speak in spring practice. He's probably showing off some of them talent, some of them wheels. Hopefully he's fully recovered from his injury because, like I said earlier, our offensive line not in the greatest position right now, so he's going to need to be using his legs. But, yeah, I think that Haynes King, in my personal opinion, it seems to be the kind of consensus that Zach Pyron will win the job because, that is Brent Key's boy. Pyron was one of the biggest champions of hiring Brent Key, and he's got experience, he's got chemistry with the guys already and everything, so it is possible that Pyron gets the start for those reasons. However, I just think Haynes King is probably a little bit more raw talent, and I think that he's he's more experienced, he's older, and he's won that job a couple times before. So, for me personally, breaking your clavicle is a really tough thing to bounce back from. So for me personally, I would like to see Haynes King get the start this year in an ideal situation. Pyron takes a year to heal and develop because, remember, he was never supposed to be thrust into that situation this past year. He was, a true freshman. He wasn't supposed to be starting quarterback for the Jackets yet, okay? So, Yes, if he was able to take this year, learn under a more experienced quarterback like Haynes King, who's been around the block a few times, and heal up his clavicle, I think that would probably be the ideal situation. That's kind of where I land on the quarterback battle at the flats. But hey, let me know what you think. Do you think that Haynes King or Zach Pyron is going to get it? From what I've seen from the Georgia Tech fans that I've talked to, it seems like everybody is leaning Zach Pyron to get the starting job. So I think I'm in the minority of opinion that Haynes King will probably get the nod, but I don't know. We'll see. The Georgia Tech spring game is coming up on April 15th, and I'm not sure how much we will learn from that because it seems like every year Jeff Collins did the spring game something a little different. Last year it was barely even a game. It was like a scrimmage. And so maybe it will be hard to tell who is going to be, the first and second string quarterback. But I guess that would probably give us the biggest hint to whoever's playing with the first team offense. It's got to be one of them. They can't both be playing with them. They're going to try one person out there with the first string offense, and I think that will probably give us the biggest hint. But the way that Brent Key and them have been joking, they recently had an interview where Brent Key was asking Chris Winkie over and over again as a joke who's going to be the starter at quarterback. Based on that, I think that this question is going to be continuing into the season, and I don't think we're going to know until whoever it is that they send out there on the first game of the first season, the first game of the season. So I think that's going to come down to the wire. They're going to probably keep it a secret. Brent Key so far has been an open book, but this is more of an advantage to him to keep it a secret. We're playing Louisville. We got Haynes King. It's just better to hold your cards, and so people don't know. It's a tactical advantage. It is what it is. It's a tactical advantage to keep it a secret, so I don't anticipate them to be releasing that information anytime soon. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think are you excited about Pyron? Are you excited about King? Are you excited about there finally being a freaking quarterback battle after all these years of not even having one? Let me know what you think in the comment section. But I think that's going to be it for today. Go Jackets, and I'll see you guys next time.